I'm Nancy from Cucumber, and today I'm sitting here with Athena Lamnisos from the Eve Appeal. Welcome, Athena. We're really pleased to have Athena today because from this month, Cucumber is supporting the Eve Appeal. So every piece you buy from our latest range, the cashmere, of which I'm wearing the cashmere jumpsuit, 50p goes direct to the Eve Appeal. So I think the first question is to ask you, what is the Eve Appeal? Tell us a little bit about it.
Okay, so thank you, and really delighted that you're supporting us. So the Eve Appeal is a pretty unique charity. Lots of people say that about what they do, but we really are. So we do three things. We raise awareness that the 5 gynecological cancers even exist and in their signs and symptoms. There's a huge job to do there. The most upsetting thing that we hear all too often is that the first time a woman hears about one of these cancers is when she's being told she's got one, and that needs to change. We also know that people are woefully unaware of the signs and symptoms, and even more depressingly, woefully unaware of their reproductive organs and the gynecological organs that actually make up their reproductive system. So there's a huge job to do on awareness. The second thing that we do is we fund medical research. We're really focused about the research that we fund. It's at the most cutting edge, the most blue sky end of things, and it's only focused on risk prediction, prevention and early diagnosis, so developing new screening programs, etc. We are not funding clever cures, we are not holding people's hands along the treatment pathway. All of those are really important jobs, but there are lots of charities out there doing that kind of work. There's a great hospice movement, pharmaceutical companies are funding treatment. We know this is a really underfunded area. So we're talking to women, not who have cancer, and of course we do talk to women who have cancer, but we're talking to women who don't have cancer, and we want to never get cancer, about how they can prevent it.
So that's all the prevention.
And the third thing we do is that we run a nurse-led information service. So that's Ask Eve, a taboo-free zone. Any questions about signs, symptoms, risk factors, any question you have is no question is too embarrassing, too trivial, and there's nothing to be ashamed of. Just ask those questions, whether it's about bleeding or discharge or what's going on inside your pelvis.
I mean, going back to what you first said, I think one of the major problems is a lot of young women don't really know what their body parts are.
Absolutely not.
And I know one of your bugbears is people don't call things by their proper names. So if we're embarrassed about that, I mean, we call an arm, a vagina is a vagina. So let's say it as it is. And I think that's the reason that a lot of people are embarrassed to go to their GP in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're embarrassed about how their body looks because they're not sure what a normal vulva should look like, and there are all of those issues. It can't be said strongly enough, you know, there's a huge evidence base for why knowing your body and calling those body parts by their proper names really will be a big advantage to women looking after their health and being able to talk to doctors and medical practitioners in a normal way. If you go to a doctor and you sort of talk about down there, or you talk about your waterworks, it's really unhelpful. They ain't plumbers, doctors, they're doctors. And you need to be able to have an awareness and be able to just, you know, own your body and be able to talk about it in very normal language. Until we normalise that language, we're not going to be able to break the culture of stigma and taboos that surround.
And what's normal for an individual as well.
Exactly. If you don't know what's normal for you can't recognise what's not normal, and you know when something's going wrong.
And I know you had a campaign, it was in September, so it's just finished, about putting cancer in the curriculum. So you were going around schools and trying to sort of educate school children. Yeah,
we've got a real moment in time at the moment where the sex education curriculum is being revamped. We know it's going to be compulsory in primary and secondary schools, which is fantastic. It's the first time it's been made mandatory, and we want to make sure that on that curriculum there are really specific issues around women's health. So it's partly about how it's taught, so boys and girls should be taught about HPV, periods, menstrual health, menopause, cancer together, so that you don't have those taboos amongst the genders, because that's very important. We want HPV, which the human papillomavirus is one of the things that causes one of the gynecological cancers, cervical cancer. Girls are currently vaccinated in year 8 around that, so when they're 12, 13 years old, and boys are going to be vaccinated. So we want people to be aware of those issues. And really importantly, we want girls and boys to be aware of the screening programs that are coming up for them, so
Right.
cervical screening. So we start to break down those taboos and barriers. It really is a big issue that a really, really effective screening program like the smear test, the uptake is actually going down in certain age groups,
Right.
and that largely, and not wholly, because there are other reasons why women aren't taking up that opportunity and attending their smear test, but a lot of the reason why they cite that is because of embarrassment. They're ashamed to show a doctor their body.
So we could talk for a long time. We've obviously got a lot of things that we could address. If you could just change one thing about, if you want to say one thing to our viewers or change one thing about the way we are about our bodies, what would be that kind of one thing you'd like people to take away with them?
Well, the one thing I would like women to take away with them, and girls through to women, because girls are starting their periods at increasingly young age,
yes.
is that you need to understand your own menstrual health, and if you don't understand it and recognise it and see that as a mark of how you're feeling and know what's normal for you, then you're not going to recognise when something goes wrong. And until we normalise that conversation, then it's going to be really, really tricky to really normalise the conversation around signs and symptoms, because changes to bleeding is one of those. And the other thing I would say there is you suddenly find that with women, the one time they become an absolute expert on their menstrual cycles is when they can't get pregnant, and that's often because something's going wrong gynaecologically, and that's not great. You could have picked it up before, and it's important to know that before to protect your menstrual health and your reproductive health.
Thank you very much. We will put some details about the Eva Peel so people want to support you in other ways other than just buying from us. And I think that's been really informative, and thanks for sharing the sofa with me.
Thank you very much.